Okay, so I have way too many apps on my iPad, but there's only 5 that I use every single day. So let's talk about my essential iPad apps for 2025.
They run through with the food that they own. Gang bitch never moving with caution. Too damn sick, no one's human my role. Bandwidth, EQ and distortion. Bandage through the wounds of my soul.
I want to kick things off with Stoic because it's pretty much the app that I start and end most days with. And it's basically a really clean journaling app that is mostly focused on writing. I really like that about it because I don't like too much of a calendar view or like photos view or anything like that. I just want to basically be able to write down my thoughts and then maybe look at them later again. So Stoic has basically like a morning and an evening routine, which you can customize also with dynamic prompts or like set prompts. For example, for my morning routine, I have like a 3 top priorities prompt that I get every day. And then I also have like a gratitude prompt, which is like a different prompt, but always focused on gratitude for each morning. That's really nice because you want to have maybe that gratitude in there, but you don't want to be answering the same prompt every day. And then it also supports quotes, which is really cool just to get some new input in the start of the day. And then you can also journal based on the quotes. Or of course, you can always just start like an empty journaling page. And what's really cool about it is that the editor supports Markdown and it's also like a really clean writing interface, similar to like Ulysses or Bear or stuff like that. So it's just, yeah, as I said, like really focused on writing. It's a great journaling app. They also have a really nice widget for those quotes, which is really cool because you can just have that on your home screen, always get some inspiration throughout the day. And in general, I would say the app is just a really nice balance between a really minimal interface and at the same time offering a lot of functionality. Honestly, there's so much more in the app than what I'm currently using. And they somehow managed to not make that annoying, which is really nice. You don't have to use the extra features and I'm not using them. I'm fine just using like the writing journaling based stuff. They also have like breathing, meditation exercises. They have an AI integration, statistics for your mood, and like a journey overview where you can basically see your calendar and previous journaling entries. But to me, I really want it to be minimal and just focus on the writing every morning and sometimes in the evening. I think it's really good that you can just focus on that if you want, and there's always more to discover if you're into that. The subscription also is really affordable and in line with day one, but for students it's half off, so it's even better if you're a student. And the AI features are more expensive, but honestly, I don't really need an AI integration for my journaling app. I just want to be focused on my own writing. So I haven't tried it out. I'm not really into that. I think the basic subscription is more than enough. Okay, so next up is probably my most used app after Safari, and that's Bear. I've tried a lot of different note-taking apps throughout the years, like Notion, Craft, Obsidian, Ulysses, Bear, like you name it, I've probably tried it. And I've landed on Ulysses and Bear as kind of the best 2 ones for me because they're very focused on writing and not have like a block-based editor. And while I prefer Ulysses slightly for just writing, I think Bear is better as an overall writing and note-taking app for me. Because it's better at converting Markdown to a good looking note. It's also better at linking between notes. It has a bit better organization for me. And I think Ulysses just basically looks a bit better in general. It has a bit more attention to detail, which is nice, but overall that makes Bear the winner for me. If you want a separate video just comparing the two, let me know and I might make one in the future. If you're not familiar with Bear, basically the organization has no folders and it's all based on text, which is really great because it's really easy when you start like a spontaneous note to get it organized. It has a really minimal and very good looking Markdown editor, especially with the themes you can put on there with the Pro subscription. And I think only Ulysses for me personally is better in terms of just like the writing, editing thing. And as I said before, it has no block-based editing like Notion or Craft. Of course, that's less flexible for more complex documents where you have like databases, tables, and so on, all integrated into one page. But for me, where most of my notes are basically just text, maybe with some small tables or checklists in some ways, I think it's much easier to handle a non-block based editing thing. I don't know why, but to me it always feels like when using a block based editor to edit like mostly text-based documents, there's like an additional layer between me and the text, and that doesn't really feel nice and intuitive, and I think Bear is much better in that way. Essentially, if I had to summarize it, to me basically Bear is like having Apple Notes but much better, and that's what's really great about it. So I use it pretty much every day. I use it a lot, pretty much for everything in my life, and it's really nice to use. Okay, so next up on my list is Things, and this is probably the app on this list which I've been using for the longest, and that's for a very good reason. It's kind of like an all-time classic in the category of to-do list apps, and it's very much deserved if you ask me. Basically, it's by far the best looking to-do app, at least if you ask me. It has a lot of great keyboard shortcuts, which makes it really convenient to use, and you can do a lot with the task even though they look really minimal. For example, you can take notes in Markdown for every task, You have a really good looking integration of the calendar in your today view. You have a great quick entry function for adding tasks. You can mail to things for mailing tasks that are related to emails. And you have just in general lots of customization in terms of when to log items, for example. And you can set deadlines and due dates separately for each task, which is great because you can have a deadline and also like a to-do date basically. And I really like that because that really fits with how I organize my tasks. I know that there are a lot of apps out there with more features like OmniFocus or Todoist, and Apple Reminders has also gotten better, but what it comes down to for me is mostly that I just like using it. And honestly, what's better than having a to-do app that you really enjoy using and want to use every day? And as a cherry on top, it's also not subscription based. I mean, if you buy it for the Mac, iPad and iPhone, it's quite expensive for a one-time purchase, but at the same time, you can use it for as long as you want. I've been using it for like 4 years now and it's been great and I didn't have to pay any more ever since then. Okay, so next up on my list is Freeform, which is something that I've only started using recently, but it's become like a really nice part of my workflow, so I wanted to share it in this video. Basically, it's like a big whiteboard on your iPad or Mac, and I use it mostly for bigger projects to kind of organize my thoughts, organize video flows, and so on. For example, this might be papers or longer videos where you need to capture many different aspects and then also organize them in a kind of order that makes sense. It's not really as full-featured as some of the alternatives like Miro, and there's also some stuff that really doesn't make sense to me. For example, I haven't really found a way on the iPad to make post-its work like actual post-its, like with the pencil. I wish I could just write on them and then drag them around, which I haven't found a way to work. But I mean, I think it's still like a really early version. I just hope Apple keeps updating it and doesn't just let it die at the stage that it's currently at. But I would say even in its current state, it's a great free app and it's really like a different way to organize thoughts and ideas compared to the other apps. So it's like a great addition to my workflow in certain key areas. Okay, and last but not least, this shouldn't really be a surprise, but of course I'm using ChatGPT. I mean, no matter what other AI tools I start using, like Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, this remains the best all-in-one AI tool for most tasks for me. And it also just keeps getting better and better. I mean, O1 is really great already. Now there's 4.5 out. You have like nice projects where you can put project files. We now have video chats, which I think is quite a bit creepy, but I guess you can use that if you want. We have a really nice search now, and we also have deep research, which is a really interesting feature. I only tried it like a couple of times because it takes quite a while to process all of the data, but it basically gives you like a summary on the like scientific research on one topic, which is super cool. Of course, you kind of need a subscription to make it really useful because otherwise you would just run into limits all of the time. But to me, it's very much worth it. I try to not rely on it to basically do my work, but more use it as like a companion. But in that sense, it's so valuable and it helps me so much, like write out more boring stuff, like boring emails and so on. And that's like just so valuable to have, saves so much time, and that makes the subscription worth it, even though it's by far the most expensive subscription of all the apps that I have on this list. Alright, so those are my essential iPad apps in the beginning of 2025. Let me know if I missed any, let me know what your favorite iPad apps are and which ones I should maybe try out in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.